Hey guys, welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. As you know, this is a place where we examine everything under microscopic logic to sustain what is most factual and logically consistent. So today, I want to be talking about the case of the woman who voted for leopards eating people's faces, complaining that leopards have eaten her face. And that is the case of Kemi Badenoch, a British woman of Nigerian descent, who is the leader of the UK Conservative Party, who made it a mission in life to discount racism, to combat anti racism, to shield for essentially white ethno nationalists and possibly racists by making light of the racism that many people face. Now, she is facing some sort of racism herself and she's shocked that racism exists. I mean, is this woman for real? Is she for real? Is she for real? She's shocked. She's surprised. A black woman surprised that racism exists. Now, I'm not one of those people who sees racism in everything, but you've got to understand and you've got to realize that so long as human beings exist, so long as people of different races or different ethnicities occupy the same geographical location, there's going to be bigotry based on people's race, based on people's sexes, based on people's skin color, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's a human thing. So when you are saying that, when you're calling that out, it doesn't mean you're saying that society is totally bad. You're saying that there is a problem that needs to be fixed. There's a problem that needs to be addressed. So when Kemi takes issue with people saying that there's racism in Britain, and then all of a sudden, when she begins to experience it herself, she's now screaming, am I supposed to take her seriously? I mean, these are the sorts of people who do not care about the problems that other people face until they themselves experience it. And it's very difficult to have sympathy for these kinds of people. So, Kemi Badenoch, according to this headline, reveals hysterical level of personal attacks faced as a black woman. The funny thing is that these black people, those who are so quick to say, "Oh, racism is not a big deal. Racism doesn't exist," they are they almost always eventually fall back and default to, "Oh, I'm being oppressed because of my race. Oh, I'm being oppressed because of my ethnicity." When other black people were saying this, you mocked them. You dismissed their reality. You dismissed what they were going through. You dismissed their feelings. You call them woke, or you call them they're crybabies. They're they were playing the victim. So in this case, are you Kemi playing the victim? And I think she is more than likely playing the victim. I don't see her as a very effective leader. And if people are going to be criticizing her, she's going to default to her race or ethnicity to shield herself from such criticism. And I think that's what she's doing right now, essentially doing what she accused other black people of doing. So I'm just going to read this article and comment on it as we go. So Kemi Badenoch has spoken openly about the racism she has suffered as the first black woman to lead the Conservative Party. If someone else had written something like this, if someone else had made this statement as a black woman, I bet you Kemi is going to be one of those people who are saying you're essentializing your blackness, you're essentializing your race, and so on and so forth. But she's unable to take this backlash without defaulting back to her race. Oh, it's because I'm a black woman. That's why this is happening to me. Oh, I'm a black woman. That's why this is happening. When you discounted it, isn't it crazy that a black woman is surprised that racism exists? Come on. All right. So the Tory leader told the Sunday Times she had been surprised at the amount of racism she had faced since being elected. Surprised. She's surprised. Oh wow. This is the person that's the sort of person that would be surprised to find out that water is wet. It's just like someone saying that, I'm surprised. Oh, I drank water for the first time and um it's wet. Really? You're surprised that racism exists. Okay. But if none of this had happened to you, because these sorts of people they always default to anecdotes. If it's not happening to me, so it's not happening. It doesn't happen. Just because I haven't experienced something doesn't mean other people have not experienced it. Now that she's experienced it, she's beginning to cry foul and to say, I'm experiencing racist attacks. So the Tory leader told the Sunday Times she had been surprised at the amount of racism she had faced since being elected, having previously insisted that Britain was the best place in the world to be black. You know, there are many people who, when you say, for example, when you say America is a racist country or Britain is a racist country, they will tell you, well, why don't you go back? Why are you here? When you are saying a country has a problem, it is not because you don't like the country. It's not because you hate the country. It's not because you want to leave the country. It's because you want the country to be better. It's because you want to fix the things that are broken, the things that are not working properly. And if you are going to have a multicultural society, as long as you have people of different quote and unquote races and ethnicities, these things are going to be there. But just for the fact that we know that racism would almost always exist doesn't mean we should not do something to combat it. Doesn't mean we should not do something to reduce it. But that's essentially Kemi's position before now. Now she's screaming. She told the paper there's a certain cadre of people who clearly can't cope with the fact that I want this and I'm doing it. So she feels, or she is saying, some people are saying that she got there not by merit, she got there because she's black, DEI, and so on and so forth. This is the experience of many black people who feel their competencies constantly being questioned. And Kemi would have dismissed their concerns. She would have dismissed their concerns as playing the victim. Now she's experiencing it. Quote, the level of personal attacks from anonymous people hits hysterical. Not even just from the MPs. I actually don't think it's that many MPs. For the fact that MPs themselves would be racist towards one of their own is a problem. I think it's 2 to 3 people out of 120. Okay. So what were you thinking? When people said Britain was a racist country, did you think they meant 100%? Do you think they meant everybody? Of course, it goes without saying that it cannot be everybody, but there are always going to be these elements. There are always going to be these elements that need to be dealt with. That's nothing. But online as well, people used to talk about Trump derangement syndrome. I think there's a Kemi derangement syndrome. Oh my God, the narcissism. This narcissism of this woman to think that people who even knows you, to think that people are that obsessed about you to the level of having a Trump derangement syndrome. Trump deserves whatever the hell he's getting, but we can even understand if there's a Trump derangement syndrome, given who he is. But who is Kemi for people to come up with a derangement syndrome about her? How could she possibly have done this? That's a question many black people face all the time when racist people when they interact with racist people. She added that on social media there is a lot of ethno nationalism creeping up. I like that she brought up this point because Kemi herself is an ethno nationalist. You know, people, fascist people who are ultra nationalists, they are not they are not patriotic to their country. They don't have a sense of national pride in the country as a whole, as much as they have a sense of ethno-national pride, ethno-nationalist pride. That's why nationalism is almost always a bad thing because it only creeps up in a place where you have people of multiple ethnicities. When one ethnic group begins to essentialize itself, and these are the sorts of people that Kemi has been, rubbing shoulders with. These are the kind of people that she's been giving cover to. Ethno-nationalist. She has come up with recent that, as we'll read later, that she no longer identifies as Nigerian, but she still identifies with her ethnic group. She is an ethno-nationalist. She thinks that her ethnic group is supreme. She thinks that her ethnic group is has more validity than the national group. And that's essentially what these white supremacists and ethno-nationalists, that's what they are after. That's essentially their position. So when you think that you think they see you as really British, really, you are saying, oh, we have to be proud to be British. That's what nationalism is. Their own conception of what it means to be British is totally different from yours. Their own conception is that you have to be white to be British, or you have to be white to be American. That is their own conception of nationalism, of patriotism. It has nothing to do with a multicultural society, people of different ethnicities and background being proud of being that thing. You in their mind, you're never going to be British enough. You're never going to be English enough, despite your, you know, whatever you do. Okay, she added that. She added on social media, there's a lot of ethno nationalism creeping up. I need to take some water. All right. Mm. Ah, creeping up. A lots of stuff about my race and my ethnicity and the tropes around. Well, she couldn't possibly have done this all by herself. Yes, that's the experience of many black people. When they say that, you discount it. Badenoch was born in Wimbledon but grew up in Nigeria before moving back to the UK age 16. Rarely talks at length about her race or heritage. She said recently she no longer felt Nigerian and has frequently criticized anti-racism campaigners and critical race theory. Now, Kemi has said a lot of terrible things about Nigeria. I'm Nigerian, right? She has said a lot of terrible things about Nigeria. And you know what? Yeah, there are a lot of terrible things about Nigeria. Corruption and so many things. Name it, the problems. But Kemi's the way Kemi attacks Nigeria, or the way she attacks Nigeria, is she tries to put Nigeria down to feel more British, which is really, really unnecessary. That's the way she does it. And she said things about Nigeria being a socialist country when she was growing up. And I'm like, really? Whenever was Nigeria a socialist country where like that the socialist policies of Nigeria made her see the bad sides of socialism? Really? Nigeria has always been a capitalist country, much more capitalist than many Western nations. There are no social safety nets. There are no handouts. There are no robust government social welfare programs. Most of the economy is still driven by the private sector, as underdeveloped as it is. So, what the hell is she talking about? The most you could talk about was maybe in the 60s, where some military governments, regional military governments, especially from the southwest, had things like free education, free university education, free primary school education, so on and so forth. Is that what she thinks is a bad thing? Is that the socialism that she thinks is a bad thing? A lot of people were able to go to school in Nigeria because of that. A lot of people were able to go to school because of that. Because people were poor, they couldn't afford to send their kids to school. And it did, that was one of the greatest period of Nigerian history. But now that it's ultra capitalist, there's poverty, there's wealth disparity, just all the dysfunction you would see in an advanced society in terms of wealth disparity, you find here. So she distanced herself from her Nigerian nationality and essentialized her ethnicity, being a Yoruba woman. And that's essentially what the racist in Britain will be doing. That racist would be essentializing their Britishness or their Englishness, not really in the national sense of, oh, we can all be British. No, I can be British, and if you're not of this ethnicity, no, you can't really be British. So she's just testing this thing firsthand. She told Sunday Times, "I always try to think of every possible explanation before I go to race and racism, which is a good thing in itself. But I think many people who have this attitude have a way of doing it to the extreme where they just ignore obvious acts of racism and say, you know what, nah, because I don't want to be seen to be squeamish about race. I don't want to be seen uh, to be playing the victim. If you're a victim, you're a victim. You don't have to play it. It's not your fault at times when you're a victim of circumstances. It's not your fault that you are that victim. So trying to affirm like you're not a victim, it doesn't really do anything. I think that's a healthy way to run a society. I remember when I stood up a few years ago and said that Britain is not a racist country. Okay, ethnic minorities do very well here. It is white working class boys who are actually struggling on a lot of metrics, and I get pilloried for that. So, just listen to this argument. Britain is not a racist country. Ethnic minorities do very well. Okay, good. White boys are struggling. So, white boys, are they struggling because of discrimination against them? What gives? What was the necessity of bringing up that, that point? What was that point made to emphasize? Is it because they are being discriminated against? If that's the case, then isn't that essentially what the other side was talking about? So, is it a case of who is more discriminated against in this society that discriminates against everybody? You said Britain is not a racist country, but now you're crying that you are receiving racist attacks. So, which is it? Is it a racist country now, or is it not? She going to revise her stand? I'm guessing she's not. She's doing all this just to probably cover her ass because she's not doing a very good job as the leader of the Conservative Party. And I want to bet that some of the criticism she's getting is genuine, and she's just using this to deflect. So she essentially is guilty of what she's accused other people of doing, other people who may have actually had genuine concerns. My view is that there are people out there who would say whatever it is, they will throw whatever kind of mud at you, and they'll hope that it sticks. Badenoch faces a pivotal few months in the job as she prepares to deliver a first party conference speech as story leader and tries to fend off a potential leadership challenge from her shadow justice secretary, Robert Jenrick. The party sits in third place in the polls on 17%, and I think the Conservative Party is doing very badly under her. So she's not doing a very good job. So she has to distract and she has to pull out this card. Ultimately, the card that she thinks other people are using in a bad manner, other people are using in a way that is not correct, that's not substantive, that's not true. So, going back to her statement that she's surprised, I'm surprised that she's surprised. I'm surprised that she's surprised. It's just like saying a Palestinian is surprised that Israel is carrying out an apartheid system in Gaza. I mean, like, really? You're surprised? You're surprised that's what's happening? Where have you been? Under what rock have you been living? It takes a certain level of delusion, self delusion, for you to make a statement like this. You're surprised that racism exists, even if you've never experienced it. The fact that you say you're surprised that it exists is a big problem in itself because people and people are racist. It is not an indictment on the country as a whole, it is an indictment on the person themselves. And it is a call for the society to do something about it, to do something about racism, to do something about bigotry, which you would find in any society. So Kemi has no legs to stand on in this situation. She has no legs. She doesn't have the moral right to say this at this point in time. It's just like someone who discounts, maybe a woman says that she was sexually assaulted and sexually molested, and you you're asking, okay, so what were you doing there at this particular point in time? How were you dressing? And so on and so forth, all the nonsense questions. And you begin to question and doubt, even with the evidence that they've provided, you doubt everything, and you say, this is just me too, this is me too, this is me too. And then you get into a situation where you as a woman are sexually assaulted and you begin to scream that I I was sexually assaulted. I'm like, okay, but you said that wasn't a thing. Now it's a thing because it affects you. This is the level of right-wing people. They don't have the ability to see beyond their personal experiences. They're so myopic. They are so focused on what their senses can see, can taste, and can feel. If it is beyond their senses, they can't comprehend it. They have no idea of data. They have no idea of um, you know society itself, of how all things might happen in the larger society, how things that may not directly impact them in person might be a problem for other people. So if it doesn't impact them, it's not a problem. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to deal with it. You just have to keep on living. So if Kemi had not become the leader of the UK Conservative Party, and if she hadn't gotten this sort of uh, these sorts of attacks, I know what she'd still be saying. And tomorrow she'll continue on that line and just tell you that, oh, this was just, she would excuse, she would excuse it. It's not a big deal. No, it's not a big deal. It's not a problem. But it is a problem, and it's a problem that needs to be dealt with. Right. So anyway, guys, that's what I have for today. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell me whether or not you think that Kemi is right in her claims about racism, or maybe she's just, trying to deflect, seeing that she isn't doing a very good job as the leader of the Conservative Party. But, how can you be surprised?